I'm Adli Ranhoran from Energy Investment Management BV. In this Young Indonesian Professional interview series, co-produced by Energy Investment Management BV, Initiate, and Enlit Asia. Today, in this third episode, we're going to have a discussion with Amira Bilqis. She is a researcher from Center for International Law Studies, University of Indonesia. Through this interview, we're going to take a very interesting perspective from her, not only about the current condition of legal framework in Indonesian energy sector, but what's the winning goal? What really does it take for us to really accelerate the energy transition in Indonesia? Without further ado, join me in welcoming the discussion with Amira Bilqis. Hi Amira, good morning. It's been a pleasure for us that you can join this conversation. Let us start with you tell us a little bit about your work and also your educational background.
Yes, so my name is Amira Bilqis and I'm from Center for International Law Studies. I'm a researcher currently. Previously, I am a student in the Faculty of Law of Universitas Indonesia. So basically, the Center for International Law Studies is a research think tank under Universitas Indonesia, who was established in 2003. And the center actually aims to examine the problems of existing international law, including analyzing whether international law that binds Indonesia had been implemented effectively. And my research focus is on climate change and renewable energy.
Okay, I'm not saying it's uncommon, but usually it's people from Indonesia, it's people from a technical background like science or engineering that jump into the topic of climate change and renewable energy. But seeing that there's a law student who got very much interested, it is very good actually, because we clearly need all of the effort we need coming from regulatory and legal background. So is working in climate change is something you see when you were in college, or is it something that grow later when you jump into professional years?
To be honest, it's something that I started within my university year. It was on the third year, I guess. It started with when I was invited as part of the environmental conference team. And since then, I've been really interested in climate change and environmental issues. And since knowing that renewable energy is one of the way in order to tackle climate change, therefore, I'm keenly interested since then.
I see. Now, let me ask about based on what you're working on, how do you see the Indonesian regulatory framework, also from the policy side? Is it something we really would you like to see, or there's something you'd like to be improved or anything? Please tell us a little bit about that.
Indonesia itself doesn't really have any renewable energies act yet, although it will be, it has been talked since like 2017. But then the energies here in Indonesia is, especially the regulatory framework, is still need to be, add more and accelerate more. Therefore, we see that especially in energy transitions, it has a lot of like the need of improvement is needed.
Uh-huh. What would you like very much to see from the regulatory framework, the improvement that you're talking about? What kind of improvement that this is the winning goal?
Yeah, so basically, the changes that we would like to make is definitely trying to take a momentum of having a renewable energy act in the first place that regulates a lot of stuff, especially because we have the challenges Well, we have the huge potential for renewable energy, yet it's still being undermined, especially because the heavy reliance on coal as well as oil and gas in Indonesia. The regulatory frameworks that we would like to see in the future, we would like to see the trade mechanism, especially renewable portfolio standard, and then tax or fines for non-renewable energy companies, as well as the synergy itself regulates within the act. And lastly would be about people participations in order to have a decentralized energy plans to reduce the heavy reliance on the national scale productions, as well as to boost the electrification rate in Indonesia.
Uh-huh. Very interesting indeed. But I want to ask, coming from a legal background, how long
Mm-hmm.
usually does it take? Because you mentioned that the discussion has been going on and on for since 2 or 3 years ago. But how long it usually takes from the draft of the act into the final act? Let's say when Indonesia finally have Renewable Energy Act. How long does it take, or what do we need to make it really happen?
It's actually very hard for us to quantify or determine how long an act should be, you know, issued. But then the questions would actually heavily rely on whether the policymakers has put it as a prioritize in the national legislation program. So because it has been going on since 2017, but I think it's in 2020 or even 2019, early, the government itself, especially the House of Representatives, Commission 7, um, trying to take the initiative to put it as a prioritized legislations, this act, um, to the national program, and it has been written in the presidential regulations as well as government regulations, and it's been I think several precedents that we can actually take on about the geothermal energy. It takes quite a while, around 4 to 3 years. Once it's already been set as a prioritized act within the House of Representatives. But seeing that the momentum of COVID-19 pandemic, as well as the slum, the price, the price of the oil and gas, as well as the demand for such energy is decreasing, I would definitely say that perhaps within 1 or 2, and again, based on the political will, probably will be issued.
I see. I'm glad you brought up COVID-19 because that's definitely my next question, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that COVID-19 really disrupt every agenda from every government in the world. So what do you think
Mm-hmm.
this will affect Indonesian renewable energy agenda in the future, of course?
Well, the pandemic itself has taken a toll on sales and revenue on all types of energy commodities in Indonesia. And the combined effect of COVID-19 and the energy price slump, as I mentioned before, has forced even the state-owned companies like Pertamina to adjust its business outlook for 2020. And knowing that in the power industries, everything is in the going slowly, the government actually reviewing a plan currently to retire around 30 gigawatts of fossil fuel power capacity and try to replace them with renewables to meet the target in the national energy mix, which is 23% by 2025. But instead, we see a recent development, especially the regulation developments, indicates otherwise. So regardless of the will, I guess the regulation shows vice versa of what the government wanted to achieve by 2025. It's actually written in the ministerial regulations, Minister of Energy, of course, number 7 of 2020, that facilitating administrative and business procedures for the mining sectors, including coal. And it actually questions the role of the new regulations itself in Indonesia's commitment to reducing carbon emissions, as well as having an energy transitions as fast as possible. And the questions actually continued by the eligibility of the coal mining business to receive fiscal incentive to reduce the impact of COVID-19. Thus, head of Commission 7 actually still optimist about it. And there are several policy efforts that has been brought up in order to respond to the COVID, as well as the energy mix targets. But still, it still needs improvement, and it needs technicals and procedural regulations that should be enacted soon.
I see, Amira. Thank you very much for walk us through the detail of the regulatory. I would like to end this session with a long-term question. Let's say in 10 to 15 years from now, we're living in 2030 or 2045. Policy-wise, what would be the ideal condition in Indonesian renewable energy sector?
I would definitely see that there already a strong bottom-up or a grassroots levels push to the government regarding to the demand and renewable energy. And I would definitely say in 5 or 10 years from now, we can see that renewable energy will takes the lead. Yet still we need to consider that the fossil fuels as well as other non-renewable energies to be phased out soon, so that renewable energy would be the primary source of energy within the Indonesia, as well as it will definitely trying to increase the electrification rate in Indonesia as well.
Okay. Thank you, Amira Bilqis from Center of International Law Studies for joining us today. We're excited to know more about your work, and good luck. Have a nice day.
Yeah, thank you so much.